Hmm. Hello, I'm Jordan, you're not. Well, we're in the last month of 2015, and for some reason this year I decided I wanted to start reading some books. So I think I read about 9 books, and I might start another one. And I forgot that I read 2 scripts, so does that count as a book? Okay, first I'm going to start with, one of the books I read was The Secret Journal of Ichabod Crane, based on Fox's Sleepy Hollow, which is on its 3rd season, and I hope it gets renewed for a 4th season. And if it doesn't, I'm going to kill someone. Not really, but I'm just going to be really, really pissed. So this book, it's okay. It's kind of like, it's supposed to be Ichabod Crane coming back from the dead, and just kind of talking about how he's confused about the modern times, and has like all these little demonic symbols and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool, I guess. It was an okay book. I don't know if I'll read it again anytime soon or not, but unless I really get into a Sleepy Hollow fix. Next, I read Matilda by Roald Dahl. I think that's how you say his name. Now, the Matilda movie was always probably one of my favorite movies, but because it was, it's like a childhood movie, but it's also maybe kind of adultish too. It has Mara Wilson plays Matilda, who she kind of has a sheltered life. She wants to start reading books. Her parents pretty much ignore her. Then she goes to school, and then there's Miss Trunchbull treats her like crap, and then Miss Honey is like the sweetest teacher ever. Then she starts getting telekinesis like Carrie. Yeah. So for some reason, I wanted to read the book because I was always curious about it. I could have read it in school, but I just never got around to it. Better late than never, I guess. So the book was interesting to finally see the differences and what they did that's true to the book and what they changed for the movie, and it was a good read. Next, Next, I read Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. But this has Frankenstein, Dracula by Bram Stoker, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. Now, I read Dracula back in high school, probably when I was my freshman year, and I can't remember too much about it, but maybe someday I'll reread it. Now, the reason I read Frankenstein was because they, Turner Classic Movies played whenever Christopher Lee passed away, they played some of his Hammer horror films on TV, so I had a marathon, and one of them was The Curse of Frankenstein, which I thought was very interesting. I even bought some of his the Hammer horror films collection that had Curse of Frankenstein, and it made me kind of want to just read the book, so just to see what it was like. I could have read this in high school, but I didn't. People complained that it was boring and stuff like that, so it kind of was. It's overrated. Like, the last half is pretty, you just want to skim through it just to get through it. The first half was very interesting about Victor Frankenstein's upbringing and how he became interested in science and wanted to kind of become a student of science. And then he makes his monster his creation. I don't think he really calls it a monster. And Igor, who's always in every Frankenstein movie ever, there is no Igor in the book at all. I don't know where they got Igor from. Excuse me. And there's a new movie I recently called Victor Frankenstein. I don't know how true it is to this book or not, but and then the monster, he tells his tale for 5 or 6 chapters straight, how he just lived in the woods eating berries and twigs and watching a family from a distance, and how he kind of, I don't know, it's just so-so, I guess. Then I read, if you saw my review, I started my Dark Shadows clique with Dark Shadows, Angelique's Descent. So, found a bookmark. Pizza Trolls. That's weird. What does it mean? Oh, now I remember why I did that. Okay, yeah, so this book kind of talks about Angelique's backstory and about, Barnabas kind of betraying her love and how she became jealous of Josette. I mean, if you're a Dark Shadows fan like me, you'll get it, but if you don't know, you don't know what I'm talking about, do you? On a side note, a few months before the Goosebumps movie came out, I wanted to start reading some Goosebumps books by R.L. Stine. And I only read Welcome to Dead House. I think it was, yeah. But then I got off to reading the Dark Shadows books, I think. Welcome to Dead House is about a family moving in. There's like zombies in the town. I can't remember too much about it. I wanted to read. I have a lot of Goosebumps books, but I've never read hardly any of them. I mean, I read most of them, like The Haunted Mask and World of Fear Swamp and Beast from the East, but I don't get it. Okay. Next, I read The Salem Branch because it's a sequel to it. The Salem Branch, it was okay. It took place around Halloween, and Barnabas goes to Salem. They travels. I thought he was gonna spend half the time back in the 1690s, but hardly. Like every other chapter, it takes place in like in 1971. Then it goes to hold on. 1692. I did not care for 1692 whenever at all, because they talked about the Miranda Duval was supposed to have been Angelique's real name, but like in the series, but here they make her like she's the reincarnation, or Angelique's the reincarnation of Miranda Duval, and it just kind of messed up with the Dark Shadows timeline to me, but that's just me. Okay. Next, I read Wolf Moon Rising. This one was a lot better. It seems like it had less Barnabas in it, but it was more entertaining and interesting than the Salem Branch. It was about David Collins and his sort of kind of girlfriend Jackie going back to the 1920s and seeing how they're trying to find this painting that helps Quentin Collins from turning into a werewolf. But it was an interesting read. If you're, like I said, if you're into Dark Shadows, you'll enjoy it. And there's something about Quentin being in love with Elizabeth Stoddard. I didn't like that at all. That was just silly. Then got two scripts. I had the Halloween script, which is one of my favorite movies ever. If you saw my review, I like to read the script of that. And then Megan and I met Greg Sestero, and I got a copy of The Room. This was Greg Sestero's actual copy that he gave to me. And hopefully you'll see that on YouTube someday, which, I don't know, Megan has to edit that. And if you love The Room, which is Tommy Wiseau's disaster piece of awesomeness, terribleness, you'll know what The Room is. It's one of the best, worst movies ever. And the script is quite different, and they should make a more faithful adaptation of the script. Then I read, if you saw all those Stephen King books I got Christine. I read Christine by Stephen King. Now Christine I'm surprised I got through this book so quick. It's like 500 pages. Now, Christine was one of my favorite Stephen King movies, that John Carpenter made. So I was, very familiar with the story of Christine. But I read it, and it was, a lot of it was different and changed. Then there's something that really confused me about Christine and George LeBay, or like Roland LeBay. Like Roland LeBay is supposed to have been he dies and somehow he gets into Arnie, he becomes Arnie's soul or something, and I couldn't tell if it was Mr. LeBay doing all this or if it was Christine also. So they're like two spirits. It's like in the movie Annabelle, you can't tell if the Annabelle doll is possessed or it's some other kind of demon that's attached to it. It's like two different, I don't know. And now I might read either Christmas Slaughter or the novelization of Home Alone 2: Lost in New York. So I guess I read 9 books in all and 2 scripts. So between these 2 books, what should I read next? Or I could read Stephen King's Misery next. So between these 3, what should I read? Help me out. So write me down below in the comments, or to give me a thumbs up and tell me what should I read next. Or what should I read in 2016? Should I read Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies? Should I read Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter? Or 50 Shades of Grey? The Hunger Games? Tell me, what should I read? Ah!